If you're struggling with gender dysphoria and you haven't let it out, if you're hiding it, you'll have intense anxiety because you fear everybody finding out your secret and how it could destroy your life. And it keeps you caught in a struggle that just it can be miserable. Your mind can go back and forth. I lived with this secret for over 40 years of my life before I made a choice to transition, to come out. The scary part is that when I did come out and when I did decide to transition, is that I walked into a clinic and 15 minutes later had a script for spironolactone and estradiol, which was prescribed by a physician's assistant. That's not right. You should actually have to be a psychiatrist to prescribe these medications. And we just shouldn't be able to just go in and get the medications. And I realize, when I went in, I searched for the place where I could get hormones right now. And I went to the place where they just give them to me. And that was a mistake. So I spent a year and a half going through transition from male to female before having a moment where I realized how maddening the experience was. And when I say maddening, I mean that it took away my anxiety, but it didn't solve any other problem. I still was me. I still had all my other issues, the underlying issues that were being ignored because I was so focused in on the gender dysphoria that I was hiding from everybody else, that I was obsessed with addressing, because that was going to fix everything. And the only thing it fixed was that it took away the anxiety from keeping the secret that I was struggling with gender dysphoria. So in this moment, I have this realization, and I say in my head, "Oh my God, I can't believe I'm doing this. This is crazy. I have to stop this." And in that moment, I started shaking, and I went out with some friends that night, and they knew something wasn't right, and I just got really uncomfortable because I realized that I hadn't solved any problems, that I wasn't being myself. The anxiety returned that had stopped when I decided to transition, when I got on the hormones and I started presenting. The anxiety did come back. And I think that's might be what causes some people that detransition go back and they're not really sure. That can be an extremely devastating experience for a lot of people. Now, my anxiety came back not because I felt like I needed a transition, but because I was worried when the gender dysphoria would come back. The gender dysphoria drove me nuts from early childhood into my 40s. It was always on my mind. I was always thinking about it. I was always thinking about, are people going to find out? And I need to escape. I need to go be comfortable as myself. I need to go out to Las Vegas so I can get dressed up and I can go out shopping and I can go out and do the things, just live a normal life. But that's not normal life. Normal life is taking care of normal things, your daily routines. And so I had a disconnect on what that was. So even though the anxiety came back, I still had all of my underlying issues. I wasn't happy with myself. I didn't feel comfortable with who I was and kept searching for answers to what troubled me. Now, I always thought why I didn't feel comfortable is because I felt like that I had to present female. and that's what it was would fix it. But yet, when I was presenting female, I still had all the troubles and all the struggles. It's like daily life didn't work out the way that I expected it to. Now, now, some people alleviate that anxiety and they're able to go in and work on their daily life and get the rest of the things straightened out that they're struggling with. I get that. But straightening out your daily life is not dependent on how you look or how you were dressed. So for me, today's a different story. I'm comfortable in my skin. I like myself. I really do. I'm no longer afraid to face the world. I'm willing to put myself out here. I'm willing to take the criticism and the comments that come. I don't have a problem with that because I know who I am and I feel good about who I am. And I also am willing to pay it forward, to share with other people and to try and help other people see what the changes are in me, trying to be an example. I realize that I can't fix anybody, that I don't have the cure for you. I don't have the cure for anybody on anything other than I can share my experiences, and you can take that and do with it what you want. You can relate to it and then hopefully use it to help you think differently. So it turns out that my gender dysphoria was an escape for me. And like I say, it never moved me forward. It held me back. It was destructive because it kept me away from my faith, family, and even the opportunity to overcome my fears. It just kept me from doing a lot of things that I wanted to do. It kept me sheltered from other people and away from other people. And today, I'm comfortable as the biological male I was born as, and transitioning while taking away the anxiety didn't change anything else. So I felt when I was transitioning to female, I felt the same way I do right now. I don't have the anxiety that I had. The anxiety dropped off because I was able to deal with all the other problems, the underlying problems that were haunting me. And, I still have a lot of problems. I still, like I'm a faithful follower of Christ, but yet I'm still a sinner. I still sin. There's nothing I can do. We're all sinners. So I don't have that struggle anymore because I know where I'm at in my relationship with Christ. One of my biggest fears is that I wouldn't go to heaven because of my gender dysphoria. And I realize now that gender dysphoria has nothing to do with whether you will or will not go to heaven. If you have completed full surgeries, gone through, and you're living as the opposite sex, that you have every bit as much opportunity to be saved and go to heaven as I do. And just because you're living as opposite sex does not preclude you from going to heaven. So I learned that, and when I learned that, I was like, well, then it doesn't really matter what I look like or how I dress or how or what my body's like. That has nothing to do with it. I learned that was about my relationship with Christ, and so I was able to overcome that. I didn't overcome it before that, and I had some false beliefs about that, and so that hurt me, and that kept me from being where I am today because of that anxiety. Transitioning doesn't solve anything. It just makes you look different. You're still the same person you've always been and will always be. You might enjoy how you look transition, but you are still the same person. You have the same problems before and after transition, and that's it. That's the bottom line. You're still the same person. we're still the same person. We haven't changed bodies. We've modified our bodies. When you transition, when you have surgery, you're modifying your body, and that's it. You're not getting into a different body. You're still you. Now, that said, I believe you should be able to transition if you are a legal age adult. I'm not against you being able to choose how you want to look. I just think that you should do yourself a favor before you decide to transition and find a therapist that is not gender affirming. Now, that might upset some people, but gender affirming, that doesn't mean that the therapist would advise against transition if you choose a therapist that does not state as being gender affirming. That's not the idea. The idea is for you to address the things that are there in your life. Try and deal with those things, and make sure that you're addressing gender dysphoria for gender dysphoria reasons, and not to overcome other areas where you're uncomfortable in your life. Get those things fixed first, and then if you still feel the need to transition, then transition. That's if I really believe there'd be a substantial amount of people that would not transition if they would do that. So gender affirming therapists focus on getting you through a transition. They are not focused on advising against transition. I've never heard of a gender affirming therapist recommending that somebody doesn't transition. I'm not saying that they don't. I've never heard it. And I've never heard it in the argument, and I've never seen anything on any organization that is pro trans, or that deals with transition, that does anything but wanting to transition everybody that walks in their office and everybody that says they have gender dysphoria. And I think that's wrong. I think that they're making people go through a lot of it's a lot of work to transition. They're making people go through a lot of struggle that might not need to go down that path, and they could save them from a lot of heartache and a lot of grief. So look for a therapist, a psychologist, a psychiatrist that is focused in on providing good health care, that is neutral on whether you should transition or not. And I think that so if you do decide to transition after that, I think you'll be in a lot better place, and you'll be more comfortable with yourself because of the decisions that you're making, as opposed to just going with it gender affirming. And actually, if you look, the people there are many cases of people that have decided to detransition, and they have been harassed, they have been criticized, they have been put through an awful lot by the people that were embracing them for gender affirming. When they wanted to go through transition, they were all about them. And the minute they decided to detransition, that transition wasn't right for them, then they were blackballed and they were pushed out and left out. And I see that happening, and I did experience that when I decided to detransition, to stop with transition. I did get some heat back on that, and a bunch of people quit talking to me again. It's amazing how people will turn on you. They'll turn on you worse than if you hadn't come out at all. And so they do not like you detransitioning, because that goes against their beliefs. And then they come back and they say, well, you are never gender dysphoric in the first place, which is not true. So, it's just my belief that transitioning is not necessary for us to overcome our struggles. And it is for that reason that I believe people who do transition have the ability to overcome their struggles and get comfortable with themselves. So, how does that work? Well, okay. If gender dysphoria is only a symptom of struggles that you're having, then if you fix the problem, then it doesn't matter if you're transitioned or not, you have overcome the deep underlying problems that keep you from liking yourself and feeling comfortable with yourself. So if somebody feels that they needed a transition and they go through and they have top bottom surgery, they have the whole works, they have facial feminization surgery, let's say it's a male to female. What I'm saying is I believe that person can go through that and still address anything that would make them feel uncomfortable with themselves. That I believe that person can go and live a healthy, happy, productive life, and they can even realize that they didn't need a transition. But at that point, if I were to go through surgery and I had bottom surgery, I had facial feminization surgery, and I went through all that effort, I certainly would not transition back to male after I had done all that to my body, because you just change yourself so much. But that doesn't mean that I can't live a happy, healthy life, even though knowing all that. I actually can, because I believe that you can get good with yourself no matter what you look like, no matter how you are, no matter if you can walk, no matter if you can hear, no matter if you've modified yourself, that I believe you can get at peace with yourself. You can have peace, joy, and serenity with yourself no matter what. And so I don't think gender dysphoria has anything to do with that. And so, I just want to encourage you that if you're at all questioning, if you're unsure about what you're doing, but you have these needs, that you do reach out to a psychologist, a therapist that is focused in on helping you get over your struggles. And if you're a Christian, go to a Christian psychologist and go to somebody that's faith-based. If you're a Christian, if you're not, then a Christian psychologist is probably not going to work for you. It's like, I understand that. I understand that there's a lot of people that are non-believers that I'm talking to, and so go where you feel comfortable. But you should know, if you go to somebody that's gender affirming, that they're saying that if you come to them and you say you're struggling with gender issues, that they are going to encourage you to express your gender identity that you feel. And if you are having self-confidence, self-esteem issues, if you're struggling with relationships, if you're struggling with any kinds of issues, that those issues are probably exacerbated by the gender dysphoria because of the anxiety that you're carrying with it. But gender dysphoria is not responsible for those issues. Those are separate issues, and you can deal with them, and you should deal with them. You should get those out of the way. So you should be comfortable. You should feel comfortable with yourself and be able to manage those things. And then if you still have the gender dysphoria, if you still have that struggle there, address the gender dysphoria, and you can transition or not. But you should transition because it's something that you just feel strongly about, and that you feel that's what you need to do to overcome, provided that you've addressed all these other issues, and that gender dysphoria isn't like a release for you, isn't the channel for you to escape. And so with that, let me know what you think in the comments. I'm sure that there's going to be some strong opinions on this, and I hope you like the video. And just know, I don't care if you transition or not. That's not up to me. That's none of my business. But I do care that you're of legal age, and that you're making an informed decision of legal age. I don't think that we should do this to children. This is a thing where children are still forming in their minds, and they don't have the ability to deduct for themselves what they need. Kids do not know who they are when they're growing up. If you know what, case in point, I was 47 when I finally dove in and went on hormones and decided to transition. And I spent 47 years thinking that I was somebody I wasn't. Okay, that somehow I was going to be in a different body, and I wasn't. I was just modifying myself. Okay, it took me that long to figure out, and it was because I kept quiet and I kept hidden. If a kid's talking to you, that doesn't mean they need to be affirmed. That means that you need to help them figure out where they're at. And don't focus just strongly in on the gender dysphoria. Focus in on the other issues that the kid's having, that the life issues, how to function in society. And I think you'll find that will alleviate gender dysphoria. So that's what I've got. It's my opinion. It's what I believe. It's my experience. And you have to have your experience, your opinion, and choose who you want to listen to. I'm not responsible for the decisions that you make. I can't change you. I can't make you do what I think you should do. I realize that I have no control over that. And so you should take what I've shared and decide what you want to use and what you don't want to use. Just take it and make your own decisions on where you want to go. Thanks so much for watching. Leave a comment and have a blessed day.